A wrong turn, a sandwich, and a single bullet. That's all it took to start the deadliest war the world had ever seen. But here's the crazy part. World War I wasn't supposed to happen that day. Imagine this. You're 19 years old, nervous, sweating, standing on a crowded street. You've been waiting for hours for one moment, one shot, one chance to change the world forever. But you fail. The target drives past you untouched. It's over. Or at least that's what you think. Because just minutes later, fate gives you a second chance. And this time, you don't miss. This is the unbelievable true story of the mistake that started World War I. Before that bullet was fired, the world was already a ticking time bomb. Europe in the early 1900s wasn't peaceful. It was tense, paranoid, and armed to the teeth. Countries were divided into two powerful groups, the Allies and the Central Powers. Each side promised to defend one another no matter what. Sounds safe, right? Wrong. Because this meant if one country went to war, everyone went to war. Now add this to the mix. Countries were competing for power. Armies were growing bigger every year. New weapons were being built. National pride was at an all-time high. And worst of all, everyone believed war was coming. They just didn't know when or why. At the center of this storm was a man, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, a powerful figure, but not a popular one, especially in a place called Bosnia. Bosnia was under control of Austria-Hungary, but many people there didn't want that. They wanted independence. They wanted freedom, and some were willing to kill for it. A secret group formed. Young, angry, determined. They believed one thing. If we eliminate the Archduke, we strike a blow for freedom. Among them, a quiet, thin teenager, just 19 years old. His name was Gavrilo Princip. The Archduke decides to visit Sarajevo. Big mistake, because the assassins are already waiting, lined up along the street, each one armed, each one ready. As the Archduke's car drives through the city, each assassin will get a chance. One by one. If the first fails, the next takes the shot. Simple, deadly. The first assassin sees the car. His heart is pounding. This is it. But he freezes. He can't do it. The car passes. The second assassin steps forward. He throws a bomb. Yes, a bomb. But something goes horribly wrong. The bomb hits the car, then bounces off, and explodes behind it, injuring innocent people. But not the Archduke. The Archduke escapes. Alive. Shaken, but alive. One by one, they disappear into the crowd, including Gavrilo Princip. He failed. They all failed. The mission is over. History will move on. Something unexpected happens. Something no one planned. Something so small, yet so powerful, that it changes the world forever. After the failed attack, the Archduke decides to visit the injured victims at the hospital. A kind gesture. But this is where everything goes wrong. As the car drives through Sarajevo again, the driver makes a mistake. He takes a wrong turn. Not a military decision. Not a political move. Not a battle. Just a wrong turn. Standing outside a small shop, thinking the mission is over, maybe even buying food, is Gavrilo Princip. He looks up, and suddenly, the Archduke's car is right in front of him, not moving, not speeding away, just sitting there. This is impossible. This wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. Princip doesn't hesitate this time. He steps forward, pulls out his gun, aims, and 2 shots. That's all. The Archduke is hit, his wife is hit. Within minutes, they are both dead. The crowd is frozen. No one fully understands what just happened, but history has just changed forever. Now here's where it gets terrifying, because those 2 bullets didn't just kill 2 people. They triggered something much bigger. They blame Serbia. They want revenge. They refuse to fully comply. Like falling dominoes. Russia supports Serbia. Germany supports Austria-Hungary. France supports Russia. Britain joins the fight. A small assassination becomes World War I. Millions of soldiers mobilized. Entire nations dragged into conflict. New weapons unleashed. Machine guns. Tanks. Chemical gas. By the end of the war, over 16 million people dead, empires destroyed, borders redrawn, the world forever changed. Here's the part most people don't realize. World War I didn't start because of one man, or one shot, or one mistake. The world was already on edge. But without that wrong turn, without that coincidence, without that moment, maybe not. Maybe it would have been delayed. Maybe millions of lives could have been saved. History isn't always shaped by big decisions. A driver takes a wrong turn. A teenager gets a second chance. Crazy, right? One small mistake changed the entire world. 2 bullets are fired, and the world is never the same again. Sometimes it's shaped by tiny mistakes. Let's rewind for a moment, because to understand how the world fell apart, you need to understand him. Gavrilo Princip wasn't a general. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't even trained. He was just a teenager. Skinny, quiet, often overlooked. The kind of person people walk past every day without noticing. But inside him was something dangerous. Princip grew up in poverty, in a land filled with tension. He watched his people live under foreign control. He heard stories of injustice, of humiliation, of lost identity. And slowly, that anger turned into belief. If no one fights back, nothing will ever change. That idea is powerful, because once someone truly believes it, they can justify anything, even murder. Princip didn't act alone. He was recruited, trained, given a mission by a secret network connected to Serbian nationalism. They gave him a gun, a plan, and something even more dangerous, a purpose. But here's the chilling part. Princip didn't expect to succeed. Not really, because the plan was almost impossible. 6 assassins, spread across one route, each armed, each waiting, each knowing they might not survive the day. Think about it. A moving target, crowds everywhere, security present, and only seconds to act. It was messy, unpredictable, fragile. Sometimes history doesn't need a perfect plan. It just needs one moment to go wrong. June 28, 1914. The sun rises over Sarajevo, and the Archduke begins his day. Franz Ferdinand wakes up like any other morning, dressed in full military uniform, prepared for a public appearance. Confident, calm. People told him not to go. They said the city wasn't safe, that tensions were high, that something could happen. Why? Because he didn't believe anyone would dare attack him. Not in public, not in daylight. And that right there was mistake number 1. As the motorcade moves through the city, the first attempt fails. The second attempt explodes into chaos. The bomb flies through the air. Time slows down. It lands on the car, then rolls off and explodes behind them. People are injured. The streets erupt in confusion. But the Archduke, still alive, instead of leaving the city immediately, he continues the visit. Some say pride. Some say denial. Some say he didn't want to look weak. Would cost him everything. After the attack fails, the tension drops. One by one, they vanish, blending into the crowd. Defeated, disappointed. Imagine being Princip in that moment. You had your chance, and it's gone. It's over. We failed. Nothing changes, no chase, no panic, just acceptance. But fate wasn't done with him yet. Now we return to the moment. That changed everything. After the bombing, officials decide to change the route, to avoid danger. The driver was never clearly informed. In one of the most important motorcades in Europe, communication failed. The Archduke sits inside, still processing what just happened. She tries to comfort him, to calm the tension, to reassure him. Then suddenly, the driver turns into the wrong street. An officer shouts, "You're going the wrong way." He hesitates, panics, and begins to reverse. Was mistake number 2. Now, picture the scene like a movie. A quiet street, a small crowd, a sandwich shop nearby. Gavrilo Princip, standing just feet away. Just coincidence, or something more. He freezes. No, this can't be real. Is that him? Right here, right now, it's stuck, right in front of him. And in that moment, everything changes. Princip steps forward, slowly, deliberately, just silence. This time, there's no hesitation. The first shot hits the Archduke. The second hits his wife. She turns to him, trying to protect him. Sophie, don't die. Stay alive for our children. Within minutes, they are gone. And with them, peace in Europe dies too. At first, confusion. This wasn't just an assassination. This was political, explosive, dangerous. They want justice. But more than that, they want power. To crush Serbia once and for all. What happens next is like watching a fuse burn. Threats, ultimatums, mobilizations. Not because they want war, but because they promise to. The alliance system, meant to keep peace, actually guaranteed war. At this point in the video, insert, pause for a second. Do you think this could have been avoided? Or was the world already heading toward war no matter what? Comment your thoughts. What started as a failed mission, a wrong turn, and 2 gunshots, a war that will destroy empires, kill millions, and reshape the entire world. Now let's zoom in, not on countries, not on leaders, but on one person. He lies about his age to join the army. Why? Because everyone else is going. Because it feels like the right thing to do. Because he believes he'll be a hero. She knows something he doesn't. This is an adventure. This is a one-way journey. The same boy now sits in a trench, covered in mud, shaking, hungry, exhausted. There are no heroes here, only survivors. Dear mother, they told us this war would be quick, but I don't think I'm coming home. Multiply that story by millions, and you begin to understand the true cost of one mistake. Bullets weren't the only thing killing soldiers. Trenches were breeding grounds for infection, fever, rot. Soldiers' feet rotted from constant moisture. Some had to be amputated. What we now call PTSD was everywhere. Men would freeze in fear, lose the ability to speak, break down completely. It destroys minds. By 1917, everything begins to change. For years, they stayed out of the war, watching, waiting. Germany makes a critical mistake. They attack ships carrying American citizens, trying to convince Mexico to join the war against the U.S. The United States declares war. New energy, new resources, new momentum, and for the first time, the end of the war becomes visible. 1918, the war reaches its breaking point. Resources are low. Soldiers are worn out. Morale is collapsing. Germany launches a final attack, hoping to win before it's too late. And when it does, everything falls apart. Relentlessly, Germany has no choice left. November 11th, 1918, after 4 long years, the fighting stops. It's not peace. Not really, because millions are missing but homes filled with grief. After the war, leaders gather to decide the future. Germany is blamed, punished, humiliated, massive financial penalties, loss of territory, military restrictions. A deep sense of anger, because this anger would not disappear. The world says, never again, because the conditions created after World War I set the stage for something even worse, a conflict even deadlier, even more destructive. Back to that moment in Sarajevo. Think about this: one wrong turn leads to one assassination, one declaration of war, one global conflict, which leads to millions of deaths, the fall of empires, the rise of new powers, and eventually another world war. Small actions, massive consequences. After the shots were fired, Gavrilo Princip didn't run. He didn't escape. The crowd turned on him. Beaten, dragged, arrested. He didn't expect to survive anyway. He attempted to take poison, but it failed, then tried to shoot himself, but was stopped, because this wasn't about living. It was about completing the mission. When he stood in court, he didn't deny what he did. I am a nationalist. I aim to free my people. Because of his age, he couldn't be executed. He was sentenced to prison, and that prison would become his grave. He died at just 23 years old. Weak, sick, forgotten by many. the man who helped start a world war, never lived to see how big it became. Now let's go back to the man who made that wrong turn. No fame, no headlines, no legacy. If he hadn't turned, if he had stayed on the correct route, would millions still be alive? Would World War I have been delayed or avoided completely? Some of the biggest events in history depend on people we never even remember. Let's imagine something for a second. The driver doesn't turn. The car keeps moving. Princip never gets a second chance. He returns home. Politics continue. Tensions remain. But no immediate war. Maybe diplomacy steps in. Maybe alliances cool down. Maybe, just maybe, World War I doesn't start in 1914. And if that doesn't happen, then millions don't die. Empires don't collapse the same way. World War II might never happen. All of that connected to one moment. History isn't just about kings and wars. Small ones, big ones, and everything in between. No one in that moment, not the driver, not Princip, not the Archduke, but their actions still shape the future. And that's what makes this story so powerful. You might be thinking, this happened over 100 years ago. Why does it matter? Countries still form alliances. Tensions still rise. Leaders still make risky decisions. And small events still have big consequences. Today's world is even more connected, which means the impact could be even bigger. Here's something most people never realize. World War I wasn't just a war. It was the beginning of the modern world. It changed everything. Technology, politics, borders, power structures. And it all traces back to that single moment in Sarajevo. The moment that should not have happened. A failed mission, a random stop, a second chance, and 2 bullets. Imagine standing on that street, watching that car stop, seeing a young man step forward, hearing those 2 shots echo, and not knowing that the world just changed forever. Sometimes history isn't written by plans. It's written by accidents. If you made it this far, you're exactly the kind of person this channel is for. Subscribe now, because we don't just tell history, we make you experience it. Be honest, do you think one small mistake could still start a global disaster today? Drop your answer below.